back to the aisle. I am Trista, and on today's episode, we have a very special guest. We have CJ, who has co-hosted with me before. He's going to co-host again, and we're super excited to dive in. So this episode is airing the last week of the year, so it's only right to do a year in review. And if you all have been listening this year, thank you guys so much. Like, truly, from the bottom of my heart, this has just been a really fun journey getting the aisle back up and running. We've been going really solid and consistent since the summer. And it's been really neat to kind of build this podcast studio and to really get a lot of special guests on and learn a bunch and do all kinds of cool things. So this episode, we're going to do a year in review. Not just on wedding trends and planning tips, but we're also going to talk about what 2025 taught us. We're going to talk about relationships, and we're going to see what kind of lessons we have learned and what we can take into 2026 to do better. CJ, welcome. Tell us a little bit about how excited you are to be on here.
I'm super excited. The Broncos, won the AFC West for the first time in several years.
This is not a football podcast.
I mean, we could squeeze in football. Relationships linked to sports.
I'm just kidding. No,
I'm excited.
Love it.
Wolverines have a new football coach.
Wait, so the Broncos are going to the Super Bowl?
They're not going to the Super Bowl yet. But we clinched the AFC West, which is usually Kansas City Chiefs, but not this year. So excited about that.
Taylor Swift put a curse on everybody or something like that, right?
I don't know about any of the Taylor Swift.
I don't know. That's just what they say. They say that Taylor Swift... Oh.
You got it. They're all there.
Oh, okay.
They're out of order.
That's okay.
Yeah, but I'm good. I'm great.
Good. I love
How about you?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful.
Okay, so before we get into the episode, we're going to do a little bit of a life update. So basically, this last week, we've been off of work. It's been nice. It's just kind of been relaxing. We celebrated Christmas. We had all the kids over, except for a couple of them were missing in action, but there's so many of them that it feels like everybody was there. We have just kind of had a lot of downtime. You've been working a lot, actually. You've been working like sun up to sundown, and I've had a lot of downtime, which has been usually the opposite.
It's reverse.
Yeah, usually we're different on that. Let's see, we had the company Christmas dinner. That was really fun. We went over like goals for this year. We went over highs and lows for this past year. And it was just really productive to kind of meet with everybody in that way. And we don't return back to work until January 6th. So this is just a couple of weeks that are all like slumped together. For BTS, usually during this downtime and this down peak, I do a lot of reflecting on what I want to see for the year to come. And how I want to organize things in order to make this year better than last year. So my expectations and my goals for this year are pretty big. I've had the same kind of continual goals for a lot of years, and I make a little bit of progress and then I don't, and it's really frustrating. So my biggest goals are a venue space, which I actually did master, but then it kind of got right from under my feet, which was unfortunate. But I learned a lot of lessons. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in this world that talk about like bad business deals that they've done. And I've never understood it. Like, I've always been like, bad business deal. That's unfortunate. Because I've only had BTS. And so I've only known for things to kind of go really well. And when I had the venue space, it was truly a bad business deal. And I was like, oh shit. Like, people are right. Like, you can actually make like a terrible, terrible deal. So going forward, I just want my own venue space. I've kind of been toying with the idea of something very different and very unique in the sense where it's a venue space, maybe not primarily for weddings, but more for just like events and social things happening, things to build the community, things to just kind of really bring something new to Phoenix, which is what I wanted when I had the venue prior. And I've also toying with some ideas of maybe making it a co-working space, maybe even having some like salon suites, nothing crazy, like no like coloring or any like chemical kind of things, but like things that you would use for a wedding. So like lash extensions, spray tans, maybe skincare. I'm not sure. I have a lot of different ideas, and my goal for this break is to really kind of bring them all together and figure out what I want to do. My other big goal is this podcast. Like, I love doing it. It's such like a passion for me, and I want it to be more than just a passion project. I want it to be an actual running monetized business. The reason is for one, I absolutely love talking to different people and kind of learning their stories. But for two, I have so much to share. Like, I think it's just a disservice to not. And maybe that's just being a little narcissistic and thinking my life is cooler than it is. But I really truly think I have a lot to share with the world as far as weddings go, life experiences, relationships. Like, I want to share. I want people to hear what I have to say, but it's hard to kind of get the word out. So slow grind, but definitely top of priority. So those are the big things that I'm really focused on this year. Do you have a big goal that you're working towards for 2026?
Big goal. I want to own a Dutch Bros.
Dutch Bros, that keeps coming up in conversation.
I know. I just see them. They're always busy. They're like the in and out of coffee. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that would be cool to have one. Plus, I feel like we spend so much money there. You might as well invest in your own. But I do think I think just being closer to my spirituality versus like the worldly things that are going on. I feel like I got caught up a lot in the news. I watch the news all the time.
Yeah.
And then it kind of pulls you away from just being grounded spiritually. So I think that's a big thing for me, is to just, remain focused and steadfast. Of course, venture aspirations and whatever I can support you in, and then family. That's it.
Love it.
I think I'll be good.
Those are great goals to have.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so let's talk about the main topic of our episode. Let's year in review 2025. So 2025 for me was another year for lessons in growth. 2024 was a big year for lessons in growth. It was a hard, painful year. And this year I thought for sure, I was like, oh, hell yeah, it's a new year. Like, no more pain. It's going to be great. And this year was equally pretty fucking tough. Actually a little bit easier. 2024, I think, takes the cake. That was a bad one for me. 2025 was a little bit better, but I expected a little bit more. So that means I need to put a little bit more into 2026. So 2025, again, was a year of lessons for me. 2025 for you, what was it a year of?
Organized chaos. I think there were just a lot of different things. I feel like we had things going on with the different houses. I feel like, we're transitioning the family different ways. Aria starting school, which something I had to like get on board with, and acclimating her. And then there's been a lot of changes at my work, as you know, right, throughout the entire course of the year. So I do think that it's just been like chaos, organized chaos, because it all landed, right? But still just real active year.
Yeah. Lots of change. And
lots of change, yep.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So let's take first topic of weddings, year in review for weddings. So if I look back on this year, I think that this year was a little bit weird in the wedding industry. And it's been a little bit weird every year, but this one was even more so. I feel like with a big change in our politics, like with a new president and the election coming up, I feel like there was a lot of uncertainty this year. There was a lot of like, wait, hold on, not sure where we're going to put our money. Wait, hold on, let's kind of feel this out. There was a lot of changes in the economy. There was just a lot going on in the world in general, which I feel then trickled into the wedding world, as it did probably every industry, and made people very kind of like apprehensive as far as like what they were going to do. I feel like this year was like a hurry up and wait year. Like, let's see what's going on. Unsure. Like, nobody kind of quite had their bearings. And what that trickles down to is a lot of people kind of waiting, pausing on their weddings, not quite sure if they really want to lock in. It translates into a lot of budget changes. We personally had quite a few weddings this year where we really had the ball going, and then last minute was like, scratch this, scratch this, scratch this, scratch this, scratch this. Oh, and by the way, 60 less people are coming. Like, whoa, okay. Like, that was interesting. And it's not that it was like people that were irresponsible. There wasn't anything negative. It was just across the board. We just kept seeing it. It was just a lot of changes in overall budget, but it makes sense because the world that we're living in right now is just not a great one to be randomly spending a bunch of. All of our weddings were out of state or out of country. We had almost no local weddings this year, which was weird. And it's crazy because, you know, people say be careful what you wish for. Because I've always been like, I want weddings out of state, out of town. I want to be traveling. I want to see different things. I love working with vendors in different areas. I learned so much. And like, I think I wished a little too hard because it completely eliminated like our Phoenix market. And I love our Phoenix market. Like it's great here, and it's great to stay connected to the teams that we've built here. But it just didn't happen for us this year. We were on the go all the time, which again is great. It's like what I wished for. So I'm not complaining, but I'm just like, whoo, okay. So swung a little too hard this way. You know, I don't want to swing a little too hard this way. I just need to like kind of get right back grounding. So it's nice and balanced that we are traveling, but then we do have that Phoenix market as well. Year in review, looking back at guest counts. I would say probably before 2020, before COVID hit, we would expect between like about a 60 to 70-ish% RSVP rate. So, you know, a pretty good amount of yeses, but still a fair amount of nos. Once the world opened back up after COVID, we were looking at about a 90% RSVP rate all the time. It didn't matter where the wedding was. People were coming all the time. This year was the first year where those RSVP numbers dropped back down again. And not substantially, but now we're right back at that 60% RSVP kind of ratio, which was different than what we had been seeing. Let's see. Also, year in review, design focus switched from floral to draping. Drape design was so heavy this year. It was like people just kind of were just not as concerned about the floral design for things. Of course, like florals are a huge aspect of weddings. Like you need them everywhere. But the draping design was where it was at. That's what we saw so much in. And then social media presence was huge in weddings this year. So the year of content creators were everywhere. People doing tons of TikTok trends and stuff during their weddings. Lots of criticism online from people saying like that weddings are becoming a show. I disagree with that. I think that a wedding is a show.
They've always been a show, yeah.
It's a show. It's a production. This is what we do. We put on a production. We are literally showing a love story. So when the critiquers, you know, kind of went heavy in on that, I don't agree as much. I think that it's just always been, but now people are really kind of playing into the social media aspect, which I love it. I think it's actually great. So from your perspective, what are things that you kind of noticed from the wedding industry? So CJ is on site with a lot of our weddings. He owns a lot of the rentals that we rent out. And he is really familiar with just production in general. He has some experience in the music industry and Hollywood and all kinds of cool stuff. So tell me a little bit about what you noticed in this year in wedding trends.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that you mentioned, I think that everybody's dealing with the price correction. Like what's the right price for things, so you get people that are challenging. I do think there's been another aspect where you are now seeing more vendors or people probably coming back to the wedding industry now that are probably like, when COVID hit, they were like, okay, I'm not going to do this because it's not financially, you know, a thing. But now you're seeing a lot of these people come back. So it may be a little bit oversaturated. So it's like everybody has a lot of the same stuff. Or it's a price competition thing to where it's like, I can do it for cheaper. So you're seeing a lot more of that this year. And then
I think a lot of people kind of tried to hold on to their pricing rather than undercutting. I feel like it was like, come on, you're not even booked, bro. Like,
well, it gets to a certain point where you have to. But I mean, you know, I think that the price correction thing is real. I think that you've seen it in the housing market. You've seen it in a lot of industry. Every industry is dealing with the price. What's the right price versus the inflated price that we experienced through the COVID period. So I think that's true in the industry. I do think that the social media thing has had a play. I haven't seen anything outlandish. Like, there's not elephants running the streets at weddings. I haven't, but I've seen that in the past. So I don't know. To me, I think it's scaled down a little bit more. So it's interesting to hear people saying that it's showy, because I think it's been less showy than it probably was prior to COVID. People were pulling up in all types of vehicles and stuff and renting them out. And now you're seeing less of that. You're seeing more of the conservative, I don't know what I can do, right? But you're still putting on amazing weddings regardless. So I do think that the resilience of BTS has spoken true. It's going to continue to be true. I think that's great. I think I think everything going into 2026 will start to normalize because again, you can only, you know, price correct and so much towards your point, everybody's gonna dig in and say, okay, this is where everyone's drawing the line. And so this is where it is, and now you're gonna see people get comfortable with, okay, I'm hearing the same thing from everyone. And so I'm just gonna be more quick to say, okay, I'm gonna align on what it is and move forward. I do think the economy is starting to normalize a little bit, and people are starting to have some cash flow free up, and you're gonna see that in 2026 too. So,
oh, we like that.
Yeah,
that's great. Okay, guys, so wedding year in review, we just kind of went through everything. Let's talk about hardest lessons that we experienced this year. So, again, I had said that this year for me was a year full of lessons. That's just what it was, nonstop. I think the biggest lessons that I learned this year, one of the biggest ones was just forgetting who I am as a person. Like, you know, people say, like, I got to remember who the fuck I am. Like, I got to stop, kind of downplaying myself and playing small. And I think that going through 2024 beat me down and humbled me so much that I carried a lot of that into this year. And I lost that spark and that fire that I typically always have. And that's gotten me to where I need to be. I bottled it up because I was scared. I was like, ooh, that spark and that fire got me into a lot of trouble in 2024. So, maybe I don't need it, but it's really, no, fuck it. Like I do need it. That's what I need to have all the time. And so that was one of my biggest lessons that I learned throughout this year. Burnout was another big one. I don't think I've ever been so exhausted. It was one of our slowest years and I was so just like over it. I'm like, something's got to give. And there again, that spark and that fire in me, that's just something that I am personally getting back. And like that was enough. 2025, I'm not doing it anymore. And I think just again in 2024, I had some pretty bad investments that just went wrong. The venue that I had, the house, our housing market, we have an investment property and shit was just not okay. And again, that carried into 2025 and it was like, okay, enough is enough. Like, we're not doing this anymore. So those were like the biggest lessons and reflection that I am really, really, really allowing to be thorns in my side right now so I can make sure they never happen again. And those are just things I'm going to for sure course correct. What about for you? What were some big lessons that you experienced this year?
Yeah, I do think that for me, it's just the being too focused on like what's going on in the world and what the world's saying. Because to your point, I think that makes you a little more hesitant to be who you normally are. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I think for me, the lesson, you don't
have the stable. You're not right. Stable.
You're unsure.
So you're always kind of rocking back and forth, and you're like, "Am I comfortable? Am I not? Am 100%. I comfortable?" And it's really bad.
Yeah, it is. And so I think that the biggest lesson is, you just have to stay true to yourself and just push through and be resilient, and just lean on that. Right, no matter what's going on with the economy. We talk about it. It's like, look, you can't control the housing market. So what's going on with this house selling or that house selling, you can't control it. You just have to, the lesson is to ensure that you're prepared to be resilient. I think we've talked about a couple of things to say like, hey, how do you ensure that, no matter what's going on, you're good.
Yeah.
And then you don't stress and you don't be a little more, in a rush to make something happen because it's like, hey, look, I'm going to weather whatever the storm is. And so I think that was the lesson, is just to get back to that because I feel like we were there. And then I think whatever post-COVID was, it was just like an influx of cash and money because everything was going on. And you get into that mindset of like, money's going to keep coming the way that it was every year. And then it starts to slow down. You're like, whoa. Yeah. Our spending is the same. And so I do think just to, again, stay resilient, stay true to yourself. Don't let the economy, social media, people dictate how you navigate life. Just navigate it the way that you fundamentally do day over day. And so I think that was just a huge lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question. So I think a lot of times men are kind of misunderstood by their partners because they don't say much. Mm-hmm. So it's like we went through the same year. We learned a lot of the same lessons, but I'll cry all the time and yell and scream and vocalize it, and you won't. And I think that happens in so many relationships. And it's even something that I talk about, like even with the girls in the office and even with some of our brides, like well, like he's feeling this too, like it's not just the woman, just because the woman is outward. So kind of take me into a little bit of insight on the way men experience things. Again, going through the same things this year, but like how you kind of process it, handle it, and move forward versus like what I do.
Yeah, I do think it's Venus, a little bit of Venus versus Mars, to where
Mhm.
men just are, you know, genetically different in regards to like how we deal with emotions. I think that I believe, and this is, don't kill me for this. I think that men are more like solution focused when it comes to things falling apart. We don't like get caught up on the fact that like the building just fell down. We're like, oh crap, I have to build it back up. What's my timeline? Okay, what's the fastest way to get it
Mhm.
done? And so because we're so focused on solving it or resolving it or fixing whatever is broken, we don't get too caught up on the fact that it's broken.
Yeah.
Right. And so when things go wrong, I'll instantly think like, okay, cool. So we got to do this, this, and this, and
Yeah,
this
exactly.
to like course correct and fix it. And I think that that's just the way men think, because it's probably the way that we were raised, and the way that society is to where it's like, hey, we're problem solvers. People come to us to say like, hey, this is broken. Can you fix it? And
Mhm.
we fix it. And so we do that. I think it's just we're programmed that way, and it's probably why we don't get too caught up in emotions as much when it comes to things like not going our way, because we are just so focused on like, okay, cool, how do we fix it?
Mhm.
And then once it's fixed, then we can go back and reflect and be like, dang, how did that happen? Okay, we got to make sure that never happens again.
Yeah.
So I think that's just the difference. We're just more,
That makes sense.
Let's fix it.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to share that because the IO podcast audience is female and mostly engaged women or recently married or maybe just women that are just dreaming about their weddings. And no matter what stage of life you're in, you're thinking about your relationship. And I think it's so good to have the male perspective on things and just to have that reminder, because people forget all the time. They're like, he's fine. Like, actually, actually, maybe he's not, And I think that that's like just good to kind of get a little insight into the same problems that we go through, but like where your mind is going versus like where mine is.
I think the misconception is that we don't care. I think me and you talk about this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I just show that I care in a different way.
Yeah.
Me showing that I care is me fixing it or figuring it out to where like it stops the bleeding. It stops you from crying, stops you from feeling a certain type of way. So I'm going solution focused. That's men showing that we care.
Yeah.
Is we're solving for it. We may not like, just sit and hug and cry together, or like sit and like double down on what's wrong together.
Mm-hmm.
Our way of caring is like, we gotta fix this so that everybody's good, so that she's good. And then we also have this like, don't worry about it, it'll figure itself out mindset, because I don't know, men are just kind of that way. Like, I don't worry about it. It'll work out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nothing's that bad that it can't be figured out and will be good. But it doesn't mean that we don't care. And I think that's the misconception. Is like, oh, you're not tuned in. Oh, this doesn't mean anything to you.
Yeah, it's not true.
Yeah, you're not. No, that's not true. We are. And we do it through our actions, right? Now, if we leave it broken and we're out on a golf course for 5 hours while life's just falling apart, that's something different. You probably gotta have this conversation. But if we're actively working on a solution to like fix whatever it is that is, then we're showing we care.
Yeah, I agree. So let's chat a little bit about what we are leaving behind in 2025. So for me, I feel like the older that I get, the more health conscious I become. And so I want to really focus like just unhealthy habits, bad eating, taking too many breaks from working out, just those kind of like health kind of things. I think there again, just kind of really putting what I'm leaving behind in 2025 is pretty much in line with the lessons that I've learned, like undervaluing myself, putting off my real goals, like my real solid goals. I recently just watched this TikTok, and this girl she was talking about how she's been meeting with this business coach, and he works with like very, very, very high functioning people. His clientele is a very high clientele. And he was saying that for your tasks, you want to label them as a $10 task, a $100 task, a $1,000 task, and a $10,000 task. And you want to, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to equate to those numbers, but like that's just what you're labeling them as. So he said this business coach told this girl that so many people get stuck in the $100 tasks. The $10 tasks are easy, like, cleaning my house, this and that, I'll outsource it. That's fine. That's easy. But then people get stuck in these $100 task areas to where they're just constantly working on shit that does not pull them forward, but yet they're just working all the time. You know, they're never quite putting that attention into the $1,000 task and the $10,000. And when I saw that video, it was like, oh, that's me. that's exactly me. That's what I'm doing. And so I saved that video, of course. I think I even reshared it. And it was just so awakening for me. So no more $100 tasks.
Yeah, I took a training on that years ago. I think
so. That's like a thing you know
yeah,
about.
No, I took a training probably 10 so years ago on. It was a time management training, but they taught that as well. Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, you know, whatever it is that you reach that level of, if you can get paid $1,000 an hour, then you should only be doing $1,000 an hour tasks.
Yeah.
Anything under that, you have to outsource and then do $1,000 an hour tasks, and then you will consistently generate more and then 2,000.
Yeah.
But people fail to do it because I think we also want to stay grounded and be like, see, you see me sometimes it's like, no, I'm gonna do it. And you're like, no, hire somebody to do it. It's like, no, I'm gonna pay somebody $300 to do something I can do. Oh, but if you could be doing something that's gonna make you $800 in the same hour, and there's things out there that do that, then you need to pivot. And that's a time management thing. So yeah, it's a great reminder though. So I'm glad you brought that up because I was like, oh yeah, I need to put that on a list for 2026.
Yeah. $1,000, $10,000 tasks.
Yes.
For sure. It's so important. Okay, what else? What are you leaving behind in 2025? Besides $100 tasks.
I think the thing that I need to leave behind, it's so difficult for me, it's really like two things. It's I need to leave behind the listening to solve and focus on more so like listening to listen. Mm-hmm. I think that does become an issue for me, and it can create rifts, be it in all types of things. I mean, even in some of the common arguments that we probably have over things, it's like I'm so quick to respond versus just listening to what you're saying. So I need to like listen and understand versus like listening to respond or like automatically thinking about like, oh, I know what it is, I can figure it out. So listening and understand, I need to bring that back. I need to leave the reaction piece of it out in 2025. I also think that just on another personal level, like I have to figure out the Arya thing because she controls my life, and it's like
you have no life.
I have
since
no
Arya
control
came around.
over Arya whatsoever, and so I need to.
But also, you love her so much,
her.
and you never want to leave her.
Yeah, I don't want to leave her, but I need to like
everything.
leave the like give her whatever she wants.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think that that's productive.
Mm-hmm.
It was good when she was 1 or 2. Now she's getting ready to turn 4 next year, and she's just unhinged. And I'm just like the supplier of the unhingedness. And so, yeah, so I think those are
the fuel to the fire.
Like, when she starts to say like, "Oh, my daddy will just do it,"
yeah,
it's good, but it's also bad.
No, Arya will come and ask me something, and I'll tell her no if it's not appropriate, and she'll like literally brush me off like, that's fine, I'm going to ask my dad. I'm like, bro, like
that's not okay. So I need to leave that, and then I do think that, you know, the procrastination needs to be left, and the procrastination from waiting for like the next ball to drop. Meaning like, again, stop focusing on what you're seeing on TV and what the economy is, and letting you push off task. Hey, whatever your task is, just focus on your task and let the rest of that figure itself out. And so I do think listen and respond versus listening to understand, getting control of like Arya and giving her everything she wants. And then that last thing of just like the procrastination, waiting for like other things to happen for me to put in action the things that I know I need to put in action.
Me and you are so opposite on that.
Yeah.
Because I will never fully think anything through before I do it.
Don't.
I don't think anything through. I'm like, great idea. Boom, let's put it into motion. And you're like, a year later, like, I'm still just kind of navigating the ins and outs of this.
Yeah.
And like, it's so different. And I can't say that one is better than the other because we are so drastically opposite.
Well, when it works, it works. When it doesn't, it doesn't, right? So like your way works when it works. So if you just like, I want to do this and it hits, I mean, that's what happened before. And you're like, look at that. It was just amazing. And then when it doesn't, and we're like now doing like back and forth, it's like, well, that didn't work out. So I think that, you know, there's no right or wrong way. You have to go with who you innately are, because what works out for you works out for you. And then what works out for me works out for me. But I do think you just make little minor tweaks and you're good. But we are kind of different in that. Yeah. You talk about that all the time.
We're
like,
so opposite.
Dude, you're just ready to go right now. I don't want to like.
You're like, but what about this? What about that? I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, that'd be
I don't
fine.
care.
Let's just
Wait,
do it.
that's what you're thinking about, and it'll be like actual real things that actually really matter. And I'm like, that never crossed my mind. But then I get so discouraged because I'm like, oh, should I be thinking about that? Like, should I do these?
And
things?
I think that's the thing that needs to be adjusted, because like if my reservation starts to impact your just like efficiency and effectiveness, then it's like, then I have to adjust, right? And vice versa. It's just a healthy balance. Like when people are just different.
I mean, you do bring up logical points.
Right, but some of them too. Sometimes
never, my mind never went there.
Yeah. Well, because you see like the finished product instantly. You don't. I don't think you think through the building components.
I never think.
And my mind is a building component. My mind is like, how difficult
Yeah.
is this going to be to build, and like, is it going to meet the expectations and the timeline? So my brain is thinking, whenever you say like, this is what it could be, something simple as like the backdrops. You're like, you need to build these backdrops. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, my first thought process is like, okay, what's all the deep fine details that needs to go into it? And like,
I'm like, what?
Like, no, you can do it. It's easy.
It just
like,
needs a thing in the back, and that's
I'm pretty
it.
sure it's
You're
a
like,
little bit more
no.
difficult.
I'm like, yeah, let's just do it.
But then again, you know, some of those things are pretty simpler. I'm like, oh shoot, that was a lot simpler than I thought through.
Yeah.
But my brain is just, hey, I'm thinking of stage 1 through 8, and you're just thinking about 8, and so
I trust fall through my entire life.
100%.
I trust fall
every
it'll
single
figure
thing.
out. I don't know.
Yeah,
it'll work out.
that is a great.
And then I got humbled like a motherfucker in 2024.
Well, I mean, you know,